Hi, I'm very, very pleased to be speaking to Mark Sharman today, and he is the ex-director of broadcasting of Sky TV, and he's had many years working in the media, and he's also making a very exciting and could be a life-saving documentary called The New World, A Fool's Paradise. We are going to be using certain um, code words in this video so that it won't be taken down at certain points. So we can also have a bit of fun with that too. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. Yes, I've done 55, 56 years in broadcasting altogether, or in the media. Started out on newspapers, and my last corporate job was director of news and sport at ITV. I met Sandy Adams. I saw Sandy Adams make a presentation on the United Nations 17 Sustainable Goals, and I thought that would make quite a good subject for the next film. So I made a previous film on COVID, which is called Safe and Effective, A Second Opinion, with Oracle Films. And we've got together again to make this one. So it's based around the United Nations movement, which isn't at all what it seems. It sounds wonderful. No more poverty in the world, clean water for everyone, proper education for everyone, gender equality. It all sounds great, but unfortunately, none of the ambitions, first of all, they're not achievable. You're not going to solve world poverty in the next 6 years. But it's really a Trojan horse for a movement to get a one world government, driven to a large extent by corporate interests and the big banks. We did an interview with a man called Alex Newman, who's an American investigative journalist. And his first thing he said you have to learn to speak UNEs to understand what they're talking about. He starts out by saying, the United Nations talk about a peacekeeping force, but actually they're talking about guns and helicopters and tanks, and it's a war-making force. And he goes on, he points out several anomalies. But they're moving towards a system of control. It's hard not to call it a communist system or a Marxist system, because you've got very powerful people who want to control everything at the top, and the rest of us really are just numbers. Particularly as in the future, AI is going to take away so many jobs. They are going to be left with a population who may not have enough to do, which is dangerous in itself. But we're looking really at one of our chapters is called the digital prison, which is probably what we'll show at your event. And it's kind of a three-way hit. You've got central bank digital currencies, which will replace our current fiat system of money altogether. And you think of it as tokens. You'll have a certain amount of tokens to spend, and they'll be based on carbon. They're all carbon tokens. So everything will be judged and monetized on how many carbon units it's used to get to the shops, or whether it's been grown or manufactured. So you'll have a currency that is, and because it's digital and because it's based on a blockchain, it's also nothing's private. Everything you do is registered and can be seen. But it's also could be programmable. So the banks can decide how much you can spend on what. So the next part of that is a digital passport. So all of your records, with maybe a driving license, a criminal record if you've got one, your health details, your financial details, that is all stored on this
on your big e-passport.
Yes, and it's stored on the big AI central brain. So you've got the currency which they control. They've got the digital passport where they know everything about you, and the third part of it is surveillance. And what they're creating effectively is a digital prison, and everything you do in the home and when you're out is basically being monitored and and ultimately monetized. It surprised me. I mean, I know about Alexa and things like that, and Alexa, but it really surprised me how sophisticated these systems already are. The problem is, and of course, it's all based on climate change. I mean, the whole system is based on carbon because carbon is affecting the climate. Now, that very premise, there is actually no scientific evidence to support that. And what it seems to me is it's a hugely sophisticated change in world events, which has been 50, 60 years in the making. But it's such a huge lie for people to take on. It's really hard for them to see it as a lie. You know, surely these trillions that have been spent on green industries and all the many consultancy firms and green advisors and all of these things that's built up, you know, it could all be false. It could all be based on a false premise. And really, that's what the film was about. It's asking the question, you know, is any of this real, or is it, as we believe it is, a move towards a communist regime in the West? I mean, a lot of net zero is about shifting our industrial power to China and to the East. You know, nobody stops China pumping carbon out all the time. You know, their carbon emissions are increasing by the day. And of course, they're making all the products that are coming back here, including solar panels and wind turbines and everything else. So we try to cover the whole ground. It's split into chapters. Hopefully, it'll gel into one piece. And I hate to use the phrase "wake people up." That's not what it's about. But hopefully it will make people think about goodness. I do get the impression, Catherine, that a lot of people feel there's something wrong at the moment. You know, they feel there's something coming. Now, whether it's the Third World War or what, but people think it. And of course, a lot of people are short of money. I mean, the money is really scarce. And there is a feeling that there is something in the air. And I think this explains a lot of it. You know, hardly anything's happening by chance. It's all a very carefully planned exercise. Brilliant, actually.
Yes, it is. It's
brilliant.
It's
but when you've got trillions in your bank account, I suppose you can make things happen.
You can play with it. Thank you so much, Mark. It's been very interesting talking to you. And just to say that this is the event which is coming up on the 11th of April, and you can see excerpts, very interesting excerpts from Mark and Oracle's film on that night. And you can book your ticket via Eventbrite. You can just see the title at the top there, Society C or Free. See you there. Thank you. Thanks so much, Mark.